Welcome to We're on ECMO, an educational series for the ECMO community. I have an incredible guest with us today with an incredible story, and I'm not sure I've had a guest more appropriate for a show titled We're on ECMO. Stella is a ECMO survivor. She is a nurse at UCLA Medical Center who experienced a sudden cardiac arrest while working in the ICU and was placed on ECMO, ultimately saving her life. I'm just so honored to have you with us today, Stella. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I don't want to give too much away. I want you to be able to share your story. And so, can you just start by telling us a little bit about your history in healthcare?
Okay, so I'm a registered nurse at UCLA Ronald Reagan. I've been a nurse there for today is about total of 16 years. And the entire time I've been working in the neurotrauma ICU.
Nice.
On November 1st, I was working. I had a one-to-one, had a pretty sick patient. In fact, that day we were supposed to go to MRI, packing the patient up. And during my break, I decided I had to go get my scheduled labs done. I'm actually diabetic.
Okay.
So I was walking to the lab facility, which is just around building next door, just around the corner. And I went to go get my scheduled labs done, A1C. I get them checked every 3 months. And then I was on my way back and I had my sudden cardiac arrest right outside where the cars are like pulling around and everything. So I wasn't even in the hospital. But the amazing part is, timing. My coworker was leaving work. She was walking out, chief resident, neurosurgery resident. She saw me fall and she started CPR right away and she called the ambulance and everything. And ultimately, I ended up in the UCLA ER. They did compressions for me and coded me for about 2 hours.
Wow.
Before ultimately somebody was, I think they said it was a random resident who was like, let's put her on ECMO because nobody wanted to stop. And I'm so thankful for that. I had this cardiac arrest at my work family place and they put me on ECMO. They were ultimately able to get me into the cath lab where they found a 90% occlusion of the LAD and they were able to stent me. And I went into the ICU. They told me I was on ECMO for about 4 days. I woke up, I think on day 4, I was still pretty out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And full hospitalization was about 7 days.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. This was back in 2019, correct?
19, right before COVID.
Right before COVID, yeah. So you said that they were able to get you on ECMO. You were on there for, you said 4 days, you believe, and then ultimately out of the hospital discharged in 7 days.
Yes.
That seems pretty incredible altogether. But yeah, I can't imagine. But so glad that your team kept on working and did what they could to do. And I mean, I think it's just amazing that you're sitting here in front of me and so how long was it before you went back to work?
I think I was off for about 10 months.
Okay.
I decided to do cardiac rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a lockdown, so that kind of extended things.
Sure.
And I went back. I think my greatest fear at that time was catching COVID and ending up on ECMO again.
Sure.
So, but my coworkers and my boss, they were so understanding. And so we took like baby steps towards going back to the bedside.
Awesome. And during that time, the recovery time, like what did you do? What helped you get back to a place where you could go back to work?
I did all the exercises that the cardiac rehab recommended. I have 2 huskies that I walked every day. And for them, it didn't matter if it was around the corner, around the block, mile. They loved it and it kept me going. So yeah. And then, oh, I also got a Peloton. It's kind of blurry. I got
Yeah.
like little, like 20-minute segments, like took it,
Hmm.
didn't do any of those crazy
Yeah.
spins. It's,
That's
it's
awesome.
a lot of,
I think a
I,
lot of people, or some people who watch this may have gotten a chance to meet or see you at SECMO if they were over at SECMO this past time. And I think you had your pups with you. I had seen a few photos from that, and some of our team had met you there. Um, Now that you are back at work, where are you back in the same spot?
I am. I'm back at the ICU. I have
Hmm.
been, I returned part-time and
Hmm.
thought, but I realized I still have bills to pay. It's expensive to live in California,
Sure.
shop. So
Yeah.
now I'm after, you know, 5 years, I'm progressing towards full time.
Hmm.
So
Um, and so now that you have having been a patient and you've seen things from that other side of this very kind of dire situation, how has that impacted your patient care now?
you know, I I always tell people, you are really sick right now in the ICU, but you're going to get better and you're going to get out of here. This is not the end. And I'm more patience now for families, especially.
Hmm.
The patient might get my motivation and my words, but the family, this is, I have a lot of patience for family to begin with because I'm already an ICU nurse, but now
Hmm.
more time with the family and provide more support and let them know that like there is another, this isn't the end.
Hmm.
That your family member will return to daily life, paying bills, going to school and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that's a special thing to be able to offer some guidance and hope in a time with some real personal experience, and that's amazing. I think that's really important. Um, what would you say now to ECMO specialists, to other healthcare workers that don't always get to see the outcomes, especially like now I'm talking to you, it's 4 years down the road. A lot of times they have a patient for a day or two or this time, and they don't get to see that follow-up of that person and their life and their experiences. What would you say to those folks?
I have a lot, we see a lot of codes at UCLA. And I think after my experience, I have seen more patients after cardiac arrest end up on ECMO. And I always have people come up to me and they're like, I would never do that. I would never let them put those machines in me. And I would look at them and say, why?
Hmm.
It saved me. Look at where I am. I'm not stuck in a facility. I'm actually, look at me, I'm back at work. And
Hmm.
that makes them like kind of turn their head and they're like, really? Oh. And I'm like, ECMO is not a life, it's not a death sentence.
Hmm.
It's life.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, ECMO has come so far, and there's so many great things that people are seeing in these. It's particularly growing in these cardiac arrest situations, out of hospital even, and more in the emergency room and trauma units. And so, there is some hope that it brings, and of course, there's not always the outcomes that we want, but part of what we try to do as at ECMO Advantage is helping prepare people and deliver high quality ECMO to know when to do it in a timely fashion and all of those things so that we do move towards more people having these success stories and these outcomes. And what we want to see happen is not just patients survive, but thrive. Like, what does it look like to be prepared to offer high quality ECMO to more people so that they have these stories like yours and that they go back to work and they have these wonderful experiences with their dogs and their families and all of those things. And so I think that's really important to remember. I just want to thank you so much for joining me today to share your story. I think it's just a really neat thing. I know for you and your work family, that's probably some memories that'll be lasting there for a long time. Any final words? Anything else you'd say?
Let me go. Let me get the dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. At least here's
There you
Thor.
go. Which one is that?
This is Thor.
Thor.
At a
Awesome.
tree. Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. Thank you, Thor, for making an appearance. I'm so happy that you got to share your story with us, and I'm so happy that we can hopefully encourage ECMO specialists and others with this story. If you're out there and you're watching today, and you have an ECMO related topic that you would like to see discussed, make sure that you email me, Neil, Neil at ECMOadvantage.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.